Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another video in our Node.js for Beginners series. So in this video, we will cover one of the important topic, which is the error handling in Node.js. And along with that, we will also explore the file system module and see how we can manipulate files like read and write operations. If you have missed the previous video, then you can click on the card above and jump to it directly. So if this sounds interesting, then stick around. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. So let's get started. Alright guys, so we will start with how to handle the errors in Node.js, and usually errors in Node.js are handled through exceptions. So we throw an exceptions with the keyword throw. So there are 4 different ways you can handle the error, and let's see each of them one by one. So I will start with first creating a file. So I will create a file and I will name it as error.js. And the first way to create is using the error object. So let's see how we can have the exceptions using the error object. So what I will do is I will simply have an error. All right, and this error you can create with a error object. So I will have the new error, and inside this I can write whatever I want. So I will write something went wrong. I will save it, and now let's run this. So I will do node error.js and I will hit enter. All right, and when I hit enter, we don't see anything. And that is because we created an error object, but we did not throw that error object. Or otherwise, what we can do is we can also check with the help of console.log. And in the console.log, I can use this error.stack. All right. And I can also use the error.message. So first, let's try and check the error.stack. So when I throw it, you will see that we have the error stack, we have the error object, and we have something went wrong. And this is the complete stack of our code. We can also use, if you only want to see the message, we can use the error.message. And this is only going to show the error message, which is something went wrong. So if I run it, then you will see that we have this something went wrong. For that, let's comment this out and let's run it again. So I will clear the console and then I will run. You will see that we have something went wrong. We can also use with the help of throw. So if we want to have an exception, then we need to throw that exception, and to use that we use a throw keyword. So what I will do is I'm going to comment this out, and instead of this I can use throw. So let's have a new one. So what I will do, I will have throw, and then I will throw the new error object, and inside that I will write something I am error object. All right, I will save it. And now if we run it, then we see that we have a error, which is I am error object and the stack. And we found that this error occurred at line number 5. So this is one way you can throw the error, or you can handle the error using the exception and use the error object. But what if you want a custom error object? So for that, what we can do is we can actually extend the error object. And what I will do is I'm going to create a custom error.js. And in the custom error.js, what I will do is I will have a class. I will write custom error, and this class will extend the error class. So we have it, and now we can simply have a constructor. I will type the message. So whatever message we are going to pass it, we are going to get that message. I will have the super and I will add the message. Now we can export it. So we have already seen in the previous video how we can use the module export. So what I will do is I'm going to use the module.exports, and this I want to export the custom error. Now instead of the error object, what we can do is we can import the custom error. So I will write the constant custom error, and this will be equals to require, and then I will have the /custom error. Now we have this custom error reference, and now we can make use of it. So what I will do is I will simply have throw custom error. So we have to create a new instance. So I will have the new keyword, and then we can have that this is a custom error object. I will save it and let's comment this out. Otherwise, we're going to see 2 different error. So now I will run it, and here you will see that we have the custom error. Now this custom error can be a bad request validation or authorization failure or forbidden. So you can have any of that. So this is one way. The next thing which I want to show you, the other way which we will use is the try and catch. So we will handle the exception using try and catch. All right, try and catch. And now with this, what I'm going to do is let's write some code. So I will have try and I will call some function. So let's have a do something function here. Right now we don't have the definition of this function, so let's have a catch, and inside the catch you will have the error object, and then I will write here console.log. I will type error occurred, and let's see what we have in the error as well. So I'm going to type E as well. Let's save and let's try. So I will have a clear, and now when I try to run it, you will see that we get an error, which is the error occurred, and the error occurred has a reference error, which is that do something is not defined, which is obvious. We did not define the do something. Now let's define this do something function. So what I will do is I will have a function do something, and this will be having a constant. I will have the data, which is equals to the fetch, or we don't do anything like that. First, what we will do is we are simply going to have a console log. So let's have a console.log, and I am from do function. All right, I will save it. And now if we try to run it, then we are not going to see the exception. So if I run it, then we see that I am from the do function, or maybe do something function. So I will change this to do something function. But now in case you have the do something, but still that do something, when you call the do something, you get an exception. And if we want to generate a exception, what I'm going to do is I can create a constant data, and I can use the fetch API. And inside the fetch API, I will simply have the localhost 3000/API. And in some cases, it may happen that when you make an API call and there is a network failure, or you did not get the data properly, in that case what you can do is you need to throw an exception to the users, and that's where you will be able to use this try and catch. So here what I will do is I have something issue with my URL which I'm trying to call in the fetch, and now if I try it, then you will see that we have an error occurred, and that is that fetch is not defined. Now the next way is that sometimes you were not able to handle all the exceptions, and you have some uncaught exceptions which you are not able to caught it. So for that, what we can do is let's comment this out, and the third one which I want to show you is the uncaught exceptions. So let's have the uncaught exception. So for this uncaught exception, we can make use of a process, which is a core Node.js module. So what I will do, I will write the process.on, and here we can have the uncaught exception. So I will write the uncaught exception, and we will have the error. All right, this will be an arrow function, and we can write here the console.log. There was an uncaught exception, and we can add the error here, and we can also use that once we get the uncaught exception, we want to exit the flow of the code. So for that, we can do the process.exit. All right, and we can have the exit one. I will save it, and now let's run it. So I will clear the console first, and let's run it. So if I run it, you won't see anything, and that is because we are not doing here anything. We have the do something function, but we are not calling it. So what I will do is I will call the do something function here. I will save it, and now let's give a try, and here you will see that we have an uncaught exception. So this time we did not caught the exception with the help of try and catch. So that's where we have added an uncaught exception. If you don't catch any of the exception in your code, then it will fall by default to the uncaught exception. The next we can do is we can use the exception with promises. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to have here exceptions with promises. So we can use the promise here. So let's create a promise. I will have a promise, and this will be equals to the new promise. So let's create a new promise, and this is going to have two methods, which is resolve and reject. All right, this is going to be an arrow function, and here I can type that if let's minimize this, and here I will have that if it's false, then in that case I want to reject it. So let's have a resolve, and I'm going to call do something here, and if it's not resolved, then it will be rejected. Since we have if as false, then in that case also I will have do something here. All right, I will save it. I will have an else here, and I will put this part in the else. All right, I will save it. And now if we want to run the promise, what we can do is we can use the promise dot then. All right, and inside the then we will have the value, and here we can type the console.log, and we can have the value here. This will become console.log log, and we print the value. So if you don't know about promises well, then I have a complete tutorial on it. You can click on the card above and jump to it directly. And in this case, if we want to catch the error, we can also have a catch. So let me have a catch here, and this will have an error. We have the arrow function, and we will do the console.log, and we can have the error occurred, and we can also log the console error object. So let's have the error. All right, let's save it and let's give a try. So what I will do is I'm going to remove this. We don't want it here. I will save it and I will run the application. So I have the node error.js, and this is false. That means it's going to go to the reject, and when it goes to the reject, it's going to call the do something. And when we call the do something, we are going to have an issue here because fetch is not defined, and then it will directly fall into the error. So let's try and run it, and now we see that we have an error occurred and the reference that fetch is not defined. So if we want to make this as true, so let's make it true. And when this is true, we don't have this. We are going to log I am from do something function. And now let's give a try. So I will clear the console. So let's clear the console first. And now I will try. Then in that case, you will see that we have an error still, and it says that error occurred. And we should not see the error because we have the do something and we have misspelled this something. I will save it and now let's run it again. So in this case, you see that I am from do something function, which is this one, and we don't see anything here. And that is because we are not returning anything from here. So what I can do here is that I can have constant data and I can have this same data. So I will have the same data and I can add the data here, and then we can return this data. So let's have a return data. And now this time if I try to run it, then we see that we have I am from do something function, this one, and then we return this data which we are printing it in the value. So this is also one of the way where you can use the promises, and inside the promises how you can handle the exceptions. The last one in the error handling in Node.js is the async await. So how we can do when we are using the async await. So what I will do is I'm going to write here exception with async and await. So let's see an example. So what I'm going to do is I will just comment this out. We don't want this, so I will also comment this one. All right, and then here I'm going to write a async function. So let's have a constant some function. All right, this will be an arrow function. So I will have an arrow function, and here what I will do is I'm going to use try, and inside the try I will do an await for do something. And since we are using async await, so I have to make this as an async. And if everything goes well, then we will have the try. But if there is an error, we will catch the error. So let me have the error. And here I can have the console.error. I can write the console.error, or I can also use the throw custom error, and then I can have the error.message. All right, I will save it. And now let's call this function some function. So I'm going to call the function here. Now let's give a try. I'm going to clear the console and I will run the application, and you see that we have I am from something. But in case if this function do something is having some error, so let's go and make an error here. So I'm going to comment this out and let's show this. And now if I run it, then we are going to see an error, which is throw custom error. And we see that we have made a mistake. So it should be a new keyword because we want to instantiate the custom error. So let's clear the console and let's run it again. So now you will see that we have a custom error and we have the fetch is not defined. So these are different ways you can handle the error in Node.js with the help of exception, and that is with the error object. You can have a custom error. You can also handle the exceptions using try and catch. Then you can use the uncaught exception. If we have not catched the exception, then it will fall under the uncaught exception. Then we can see exceptions in promises, and in the end we see how we can handle the exceptions with async await. All right, so the next part of the video is how we can manipulate files in Node.js. So we are going to explore the file system module of Node.js. So let's go and let's first check the documentation. So I'm going to go here and let's go to the documentation, and if I search for a file system, then we should be able to see something, and this is the file system. So we are going to explore how we can use the Node.js file system. And the other thing is, which is very similar for this file system, is the path. So path is also a core module and is used to manage the path of the files. So this is the other module which we are going to explore in this video. All right, so now let's jump to the example and let's see how we can use the file system system and the path in order to manipulate the files, like reading and writing from the files or renaming the files. Alright, so to start with the path and the file system module, what we are going to do is I'm going to create a folder here. So let me create a folder and I will have the files, and I'm going to create 2 sample files so that we can manipulate them. So I'm going to create a sample.txt, and then I'm going to create one more, which is a text.txt. And in the sample.txt, let's have some sample content, and I'm going to add here, this is Node.js tutorial series for beginners. All right, I will save it. And for the text.txt, I'm not going to put anything. And let's create an index.js file. So I'm going to close everything and I'm going to create an index.js. So I will have the index.js. And now in the index.js, what we are going to do is first let's explore the path module, because we are going to use the path module in our file systems as well. So I'm going to create a constant, and we have a path module which will be require, and we will have the path. And now to explore what actually this path module is helpful, what we can do is I'm going to create a constant file path. And now what we want is we need a path of any of the files. So I'm going to go to the sample, let's copy the path, and I'm going to add the path here. Now if we see, the path of our file is that users, the page malware, documents, code, Node.js crash course, files, and sample.txt. And now with the path module, what we can get is we can get the directory name, we can also get the file base name, and we can get the extension of the file. So what I will do is let's first have the directory name, then we will see how we get the base name, and then we are going to see how we get the extension of the file. So here I will have a console.log, and we can do path.directory name, and we can add the file path here. I will save it. Let's see how we can do the console log of base name. So I'm going to have the path.base name, and I'm going to add the file path. So we have the file path. I made some mistake here. And then similarly, if we want the extension, we can use the ext name. So let's have this, and we can have the ext name. I will run it and we'll see what is the output of all these 3. So I'm going to clear the console and let's run the index.js. So I will have the index.js, and here we can see what we get. So if I increase my screen size, then we see that the first console is the directory name. So the name of the directory is still users till the files. So now we can see that the first console is the directory name. So the directory name of our file sample.txt is files. So we get the complete path of it till the directory. The second one was the base name, which is the file name, and this is the sample.txt. And third one is just the extension. So we don't see the third console. So let's run it again. And here we will see that we have the third console s.txt. So in this way, we get the directory name, base name of a file, and the extension of the file. Now there are 2 other things which I want to show is that we can also do a console.log of __ dir name, and this is going to give us a directory name of with respect to our project. And we also have a __ file name. So let's change this, and we can have the file name here. Let's run it. So here you will see that we get the dir name as the directory of our project. So and in the file name we get the name of the file which is we are running this application, which is the index.js. So these 2 also we can make use whenever we actually use the file manipulation. And one more thing which I want to show is the path.join. We can also join the path. So let's comment this out. We don't want them, and we can see how we can use the path.join. So what I will do is I will have the console.log, and then I can use the path.join, and here we can actually join the path. So let's have a path.directory name first, then I'm going to give the file path. All right, and once I have this, what I will do is I want to give a file name. So let's create a simple file name, sample file, and this will be a sample.txt, and we want to join them. So what I can do is I can here write as sample file name. I will save it and let's give a try. So we see that we have a space here, and that is because we created a join, and so we have to remove this from here, and then let's add it here. And now if we run it, so let's clear the console. So I'm going to clear the console, and now if we run it, then we see that we have the complete path. join. All right, so this were some of the useful methods of the path module which we are going to use for the file system as well. Now let's start with the file system module. So what I will do is I'm going to comment this out. We don't want them. And here what we will do is I'm going to have a constant fs, which stands for the file system, and I'm going to use the require, and here I will have the fs. All right, and now let's do a simple console log and see what all methods we have on this file system module. So I will do a console log and let's run this. Now you will see that there's a lot of methods like rename the file, you will have the read, you will have the read sync, you will have the write, and there's a lot of things. You can change the permissions with the chmod, or you can make the directory. We are going to see how we can write into the file and how we can read into the file. So there are a couple of ways you can read data from the file. Let's start with the first one. So what I'm going to do is I will have reading from a file, and we have the fs.read file, and then we need to specify the file path. So let's have the file path here, and then what we can do is whenever we have this, it's give a callback, which is an error object and the data that we are going to read. Then I can simply have a console.log of the data. All right, but if in case of an error, we have to throw an error. So let's have an, if there is an error, we are going to throw an error. So I'm going to use the error object and I will write something went wrong. Now we can run this. So I'm going to save and let's run the application. So I will first clear the console and let's run the application. And you will see that when we run the application, we see some buffer. So now to change this into a readable text, what we can do is either we can use the .toString here. Now if I run it, then we will be able to see that this is Node.js tutorial series for beginners. And there is other way also. You can also use the character encoding. So what I can do is I can here pass the UTF-8 character encoding. All right, and now if I run it, then you will see that this is Node.js tutorial series for beginners. Now this way of read line is the asynchronous way of using the read file. Now if we want to do it in synchronous version, then what we can do is we can make use of an fs.readFileSync, and we can pass the file path, and we can also pass the character encoding. But now since we don't want to use the file path, I want to show you how you can use the path module here. So what we can do is we can have path.join, and then we can use the dir name, and this dir name is going to give us the directory of this Node.js. And inside this directory, what we have is we have the files directory, and inside the files directory I want to use the sample.txt, which is the file name. So this is a better version of using the file path and not using the whole path. We can use this, and since it's the synchronous function, it is going to return us the data. So we are going to have the data here. Let's wrap this in a try catch block. So I'm going to have a try, I'm going to have a catch, which is going to have an error. All right, and then I can simply write a console.log of the error, and I will take this, cut it, and then I will add it in the catch block. I can also use the console.log and I can log the data. I will save it. And now if we give a try, then we see that we have a buffer. But now you will see that since if we see the execution flow, first we have this file read and then we have this file read swing. But since this is an asynchronous, it will make a call and the execution will go on to this. And once this is completely executed, because this is going to be in a blocking nature, once this is completely executed, the callback function will run and we get the data. So that's why you see this being printed first and then we have the data on this. Now here we can also add the character encoding. So if we want to add the character encoding, we can go here and we can add the UTF-8. So I will select the UTF-8. All right, I will save it and let's run. Then we see that we have, this is Node.js tutorial series for beginners. So this is the asynchronous way of doing. This is a synchronous way of doing. Now there is a third way to read the file, which is a file system promises. So what I will do is I will have an fs promise. All right, and then I will write the require, and this is going to take the fs.promise. Now we can use this fs promise object to do the read of the file. So what I will do is I will write a new try block and I'm going to have a constant data is equals to fs promise, and I will just wrap this in a function. So I'm going to have a file reading function, which is equals to, this will be an async function. So I will have an arrow function, and inside that I'm going to use this, and I will have the await here. All right, so let's have an await, and then fspromise.read file. So we can have a read file, and then inside this read file, I can either use the file path, or I can also use the path in this format. So let's use a file path for now. So I will have the file path, and then I need to pass the encoding. All right, the encoding is the UTF-8. Now we have the data, and then now we can do the console.log of that data. So let's have a console log of the data, and if it's an error, then we can throw the error. So let me add the error block here. Now we need to call this file reading. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to call the file reading. Now, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to comment this out so we don't print multiple times, and I will comment this out as well. Now let's give it a try. So I'm going to run the application, and I see that we have a Node.js tutorial. So just for the distinguish, I will do is here as fs promises. All right, and I will run it again. Then we see that we have the fs promises, and we can read it. Now what we can do is, now let's see on the right how we can write the file. So the one way you can do is, obviously you can use the read file. You have a very similar write file which will have a callback, and then you also have a write file sync. So let's quickly check the example. So I'm going to copy this, and I will come here. I will write writing into file. I will save this, and then I will paste it, and instead of the read file, we have the write file this time. So I will have the write file. All right, we need to give the path of the file which we want to write. So I'm going to write it in this file, the text.txt. Right now there's nothing in this file, so we are going to write some information here. So let's have a file path. So I'm going to create a constant. I will have the text file, and then this will be equals to, so what I can do is I can have here path.join. So let's have a path.join. I will take the dir name. So I will have the directory name. All right, then we are going to have the files folder, and then we are going to have the text.txt. All right, now we have the path. Now we are also going to create a constant for the content which I want to write in this file. So I'm going to write, I love this Node.js tutorial series. So this is the content we want to write into the file. So what we will do is, first we have to specify the file where we want to write. So I'm going to have the text file here, and then this is going to have an error, and this will not have any data because it's not going to return anything. We are going to pass the data here. So I will have the content here. Now it will throw an error if something is wrong while writing into the file, and we will have the data here. So what I will do is I'm going to write here write operation completed successfully. So we will have this log once the write operation is done successfully. So now what we are going to do is, let's go and let's try it. So I will just clear the console first so that we see a clean console. So let's clear it out, and now let's run the application. Now you will see that we have the fs promise because we are still calling this file reading function, but we have a write operation completed successfully. That means the content, I love this Node.js tutorial series, is now actually returned into the content. So if I go and check, then you will see that we have the content in our file. Now very similar, we have the write file sync, which is a synchronous version of writing into a file. So I think we don't need to cover that. You can easily try this one. We have a very similar one, this, and you can just change this to write file sync. But the interesting one will be that if I write this content in the file, and after writing I want to read the same content. So for that, what I can do is I will come here. All right, and now I'm going to read it from here. So if I want to read it, what I will do is I will have fs.read file. I need to specify the file name. All right, I need to specify the character encoding, and then this is going to give me an error and the data. And then here I will have the console.log of the data. I will save it, and we can have an, if there is any error, then we just have to throw the error, and I will have the new error, and I will write the error here. All right, now you will see that we have a callback function inside one more callback. So first we do the write operation, and then we do the read operation. So if I want to go and check, for that what I will do is I'm going to remove this because otherwise it's going to write twice in the same file. Now if I run it, then we get an error because we did a mistake. Okay, we will just fix it. Let's clear the console and let's run it again. Then you will see that we have write operation completed successfully, and then I was able to read it. But since now if you want to do multiple operations, like you read a file, then you write a file, and then you append a file, then in this case this will become very tedious because you will have a lot of callbacks. So a better approach is to use the fs promises. So let's rewrite this in the same way in the fs promise. So what I will do here is that constant writing in file. All right, this will be an arrow function, and then what we can do is I will have the fs promise dot write file, and here what I want to write is first I will give the file name. So let's have the file name text file, then I'm going to pass the content which I want to write into the file. And now when I have this, what I want to do is I will make this as async, and let's have an await here. We have the async await, and then after that what I will do is I want to append the file. So I will write some data into it, and then I'm going to append the file. So let's have an append function here. So I will have the fs promises, and simply the same way, we have a read file, we have a write file. If we want to append a file, then we can use the append file. So here I'm going to do the append file, and it is going to add the text in the end of the file. So here what I will do is I'm going to have the same file name, so text file, and then we need to provide the content. So I will have /n. This is file appender. I will save it. And once we do all this thing, I want to read the data. So I will have a data, I will have the fs promise, and then I will have the read file. I will read the file as text file. Then here I can do the console.log. So we will take all this into a try catch block so that in case of an error, we can catch the error. So I will have a try block. Inside the try block, I'm going to cut this. I'm going to add this here. Then we can have a catch, and we can have the error. And then let's do a console log of the error. So I'm going to have the error here. I will save it. Now you will see that this one, it's more neat and clean. So I have to add an await here as compared to this async way of using the callbacks. So it's always recommended that we use the fs promises because it's more cleaner way and it's easy to read. So now let's comment this out. We are not interested in this. And if we go here, then we see that we have some information here. So I'm going to remove this as well. Now I will clear the console, and now let's try. So I will hit enter, and we see that we have only one information, which is the fs promises, and which is this one. And that is the reason because we did not call this function. So let's call this function first. So I will call this function here. All right, so now we also need to print this. Once we read the data, we need to print that data. So I will have a console.log, and let's print the data. I will save it. Now let's give a try. So what I will do is I'm going to run the node index.js, and here you will see that we have fs promises. We also read the information. That means we have already returned the content in the text file, and we also appended the file. So if we go here, we see that I love this Node.js series, and then we have this is the file appender. So this is because of this file append. So what I will do is I will just do a to string. All right, I will save it. And now let's give a try. Then you will see that we have I love this Node.js tutorial series, and then this is the file appender. Now if you don't want to append the file and you want to write something at the end of the file, so in that case what I can do is I will just comment this out, and here while writing the file, so what I will do is I have this to file and I want to add more information after this. So in this case what I will do is I'm going to add a flag here, and I will just change the content that /n, and here I will write it's awesome. And now what I will do is I'm going to add a flag here, and I will give the flag as a plus. So this is going to take my position of the head at the last of the content. So it will go and it will place it in the end, and then we can write whatever we want to write it. So I will save it, and let's give a try. So I will run this, and now you will see that we have I love this Node.js tutorial series. This is file appender, and it's awesome. And because of this a plus flag, we can actually take the head position at the end of the file. Now the last one I want to show you is how you can rename the file. So if I want to rename this file, instead of this text, what I want is I want to rename this file. So in that case what I can do is let's add it here. So I will rename the file first, and then I will read it from the file. So I will have the await here, and then I will have the fs.promises.rename. So we can use the rename, and then we can give the path. So the first path which I want to give is the text file, and then the new file name which I want to give is, let's give a new file name. I will have the path.join first. So let's have the path.join. Then I will give the dir name. I will give my files folder, and the new file name which I want to give is new text. So I will have the new text.text. I will save it. All right. And once I have this, after giving a new name, I want to read it from the new name. So I will copy this and I will add it here. I will save it. And what I want to append is I want to say that we have given new name to the file. I will save it. Now let's give a try. So I'm going to run this and you will see that I love this Node.js tutorial series. This is file appender. Awesome. We have added a new text, which is we have given a new file. And then in the end, we have read this complete file. Now, if we go here and check, then we will see that we have the new name of the file. So that's all I have in this video. We covered a lot of basic stuffs which we will need when we build the projects, like how to handle error in Node.js, how we throw the exceptions. So there are multiple ways which we have covered. And then we also see that what is the path module, what is the file system, how we can use the synchronous way and asynchronous way in order to read the file or write the file. And we also saw that how we can avoid the multiple callbacks inside the callbacks in order to do multiple operations on the file. So we can use the FS promises, and that will make our life more easy and we can write more maintainable and readable code. So I hope you liked the video. Thumbs up is appreciated. You can also connect with me via Facebook or Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter for latest updates. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon so that you don't miss the videos like this one. Thank you. Thanks for watching.